You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherland's calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa. I think we're good. We're back in the studio with Juliet. Juliet, I see you are just like a star that you are. I like the positioning. I don't know why the whole world is so scared of you, Juliet. What just happened? Can you just even think what just happened?
I don't know.
I mean, the wait has been so long, but I think that the whole world is just shaky when they hear Juliet is coming on. Everybody has to pack well. Everybody has to be very careful. I also don't know what happened. And to our viewers who are reconnecting again and have been patiently waiting, we want to thank you so much for your patience. We even not just explain what happened, but we're happy that we're back live here today. And like we said, we want to discuss the latest happening on the continent, particularly this time in the Gambias, where the king or the queen of the continent has to give us a lot of updates, what has been happening around Bla Xit community, but also generally, what are the reforms, how are the COVID, evolving out there in the Gambia, how is business as usual and developments, is everything just okay? Because I can tell you, we sitting here on this deck, it has been a lockdown for 2 years now, and nothing is moving, nothing is working. So we also want to see how is it that the continent of Africa could take charge of these petty things we call them, but the whole massive West world are still struggling to put some measures into control. So Juliet, you are back, and the show is yours. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Susan Tata, for having me, and thank you to the whole of the Pan-African Daily TV show team, because I know that you've got a great team behind you, and also big thanks to PLO as well, Lumumba. So, well, firstly, let me just start by saying things are great here, and we're not suffering in the same way that you are in the West at all, and it's not having the same impact. I mean, outside of having to wear a mask in a bank, I guess, life is as normal. So it hasn't really affected us. They did have, I think last year, they tried to do a quarantine that didn't really work very effectively. And also the lockdown didn't work very effectively because, in Africa will be Africans, and the lifestyle overtakes and will have a priority over anything else. So people are still going to go shopping because that is daily African life. And daily African life is that you go and you get your fresh produce every day. And so you go to the market, or you go and you buy, whatever you need. So it would have been impossible to close down all of the markets. So all they did was restrict the times that you shopped. But now things are very, very much back to normal for us here. The only impact it has had really has been because of the travel restrictions. So in terms of tourism, that has been greatly reduced. And to be honest with you, I do understand the economical impact of it, but the less tubabs we see, the better it is for me. So I left England for that reason. So I don't wish to see them in my face every minute. So for me, it wasn't really a negative. I also think it has had some positive implications in that we've had to go back to our agriculture. We have to go back to our own cottage industries. We have to realize that we can't rely on tourism as a main source of income. And so I'm kind of glad, because it makes you reevaluate your income streams, your GDP, your economic policies, your fiscal activities. And so in that sense, I think that COVID has made us realize that actually the world is upside down, that we're the first world and the West is the third world. And I'll explain why I say that. The reason why I say that is because for us, we've had no shortage of food. There's been no clearing out of any supermarkets. I can pick mangoes. It's mango season. I'm not going to starve. I've got fresh water coming from the earth. I don't have to worry about everybody having COVID and dying and not being able to get clean water. I'm not worried about not being able to get electricity. My electricity comes from the sun. I'm not worried about anything. It didn't really impact me at all. And so that's the reason why I say, when I was looking at people having to queue, these long queues to go to supermarkets, and the kind of craziness and the way that you was enforced to wear masks. I don't wear a mask because I have an exemption. I actually have asthma, so I can't wear it anyway. And the only place I had a situation with was in one shop, which was in Gambia, a shop called Juliet, which I think is Lebanese run. And, I had a full-out argument with them about the mask situation. And so, this is a lot to do with the way that people who aren't indigenous to Africa actually act in Africa. And so this superiority complex that a lot of people who aren't indigenous to Africa has can have impact on how subservient they make other people, because they take advantage of the financial situation where there could be people on a lesser income. And so they have that financial power, they have that spending power, and they abuse it on, especially when they come to countries where the economy is seen to be weaker than the West. So I've seen that, and I did have an issue with that during COVID. And to be honest with you, I did lose it a little bit, and told them a piece of my mind, because I don't mince my words. And I told them I'm not going back to Wadad's, until Wadad, apologizes to me for discriminating against me in, my own country. And this is Gambia, this is my country. Africa is my country. I'm in Africa. And so, I even showed them my inhalers and what have you, and they still insisted. So this shows you that people are actually using, the whole pandemic to take advantage and to impose, their discrimination against us as well. So I did experience that, and I wasn't happy about it. And I did say that I would go to the health minister and make a big fuss about it, because what they did is actually against the law. You're not supposed to discriminate against anybody. He told me that this is private property. I said, if it's private property, better go and put it on private property and take it out of the public domain. Because as long as you're inviting the public in, it becomes a public domain. And so people need to understand also the law. So when they're getting people to stand up in front of their shops, and to act as security to stop people coming, they need to understand the law first before they actually go and open their mouth. Because you shouldn't, if your door's open to the public and you're a public shop, that's what you are. You're a public service.
Wow. Whew. It's hard when you speak like this, and I heard Glendon, who just landed, also was talking about issues like that. I mean, so it's kind of like you leave the UK where you're faced on another agenda, and then you get back to the continent. You also experience it from that. So how do you merge this understanding, bringing it together, particularly on your daily work? What's happening? There's some echoes.
Yeah, I didn't hear the last part that you actually said.
Hmm. Right. Is it okay now? Is it better?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, the question was like, how do you, I can imagine the mindset, like somebody like Glendon that just landed in the Gambias, and he was talking about this situation of the indigents actually preferring, to even give out their apartments and their accommodations to the Chinese because of the purchasing power, as with regard, to the diaspora that are coming back home. Um, what is it that you're doing with Bla Xit that to bring this kind of, I know it's complex, but how do you manage that to even explain to the authorities or to the indigenous?
To be honest with you, it doesn't happen that regularly. It's not like I would say an issue that we encounter on a daily basis. Yeah. Obviously, what it is that we have to look to the foundation of where the problem comes from. You can't
Absolutely.
just say, okay, how are we going to solve this? Yeah. The impact of colonization has had its impact on all of us. Yeah. The white savior syndrome has had its impact on all of us because diasporans also coming back still carry white savior syndrome with them when they return as well. And so we're all damaged. All of us are damaged in some way, shape, or form. And our sarcosis, our socialization, even our spending habits and our buying habits, and the way we've been educated impacts on the decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis. But in terms of that, I've actually had very favorable, well, I must confess, maybe because I do Bla Xit, I don't know. But I've had, very favorable treatment, I must confess, in most, I would say, daily activities. I get very, very good treatment. And, I get on very, very well with my brothers and sisters here on the continent. In terms of priority being given, I'll give you an example. Recently, there was a building that we only learned was up for sale at the very last moment. It was in a prime location, and when we heard that it was available for sale, we ran, because it's like a big building. It was in Bigelow, it was ideal, it was next to, right close to our office, and we need a building for us as African descendants that we can own a prime location. It had like, say, about 8 apartments and about 5 or 6 shops. And then the owner who owned the building decided to sell the building to the Chinese. We said, hang on, give us a chance. Like, we'll form a consortium and, like, say the building was like 12 million Dalasi. We'll get the 12 million Dalasi, we'll buy the building. Just give us some time, because we only just heard about the fact that it was available for sale. But in fact, they went and they sold it to the Chinese. And that is happening a lot because the Chinese have the economical clout. So it's not so much about preference. It's about the fact that they can put 12 million on the table right here, right now. And in our community, can we do the same? And, we've had years to come together. We've had years to club together. We've had years to work together, years to bring all of our finances together. But usually it's sorted by mistrust or bad financial management. Like, you start to put a susu together, and then people start saying, oh, within 2 weeks, you know what, I'm a bit broke, I need that money, and then the cycle has to start again. Someone pulls their hand out before time. And so, or partner, everybody calls it by different names. But basically, I got to say that a lot of our misgivings is down to us. Yeah, if the Chinese are organized and they've got their nation in order, yeah, that's their lookout. We have been damaged by slavery and we don't have reparations yet. Yeah, the Germans got reparations, the Indians got reparations. Yeah, the Chinese and the Japanese, they got reparations. Yeah, the Vietnamese got reparations. Right? And we as Black people collectively, globally, don't have it. Yeah, you have little pockets like, I think Namibia got a few million. But collectively, we don't have the power behind ourselves when we're united enough to make that happen. In addition to that, you know, I think that on the continent itself, we need to unify us as Pan-Africans on the continent and Pan-Africans off the continent together, because you've got to remember there are a lot of people, and I say Pan-Africans because I'm being very specific, because I know people in the UK that would never dream of coming to Africa, not in their wildest dreams. It wouldn't even be, you know, in their holiday plans for their lifetime, because of the perception they have of Africa, the misperception they have of Africa. And unfortunately, you're given a kind of arrogance when you're raised in Europe. You're given a kind of arrogance, a superiority complex, because that's what you get from living with, you know, tubabs. And if people don't know what tubab mean, tubab is the word used here in Gambia to describe Europeans, or the inorganic ones, as I've heard said on other YouTube channels by Ralph Smart. And so, and Caucasians, yeah? And so here, they say the word, because they were very bad people, they called them tubad. But because of the accent, it's the tubab. So tubads is what they are, yeah? So they call them tubads here. And tubads is another word for a white person here. And so what I was saying is that basically, you know, the indoctrination that we've all had is having an impact on us right here, right now. And so the recolonization of Africa is happening because whether they're Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Malaysian, whether they're Arab or English, or whether they're from Europe or America, the agenda is the same. And the agenda has never, ever, ever, ever changed. And we just are not waking up to the fact that our ancestors and enslavers have the same agenda that they had then, they still have now. And we're just not, you know, we're not prepared to accept it. Why? Because we bought a little puppy dog and we carry it in a bag. Why? Because our neighbors are tubabs. Why? Because our employers are tubabs. Why? Because they give you a few little pennies when you go on holiday. Why? Because they marry you and have your children. Why? Because you watch too much television. Why? Because when they give you a little something, you think it's a lot. Not realize you're owed so much more. And why? Because we have self-hate, right? And we're in denial of ourselves. We're in denial of our true Africanness. We're in denial of our real greatness, of our powerfulness. Why? Because we fail to even acknowledge our own deities. We accept every kind of religious system except for our own. We accept everyone else's spirituality except for our own. And, you know, until we see our greatness and we see who we are, this is going to keep happening. That the building is just symbolic of the fact that we weren't unified enough to have our finances on the table. We should have had 50 million sat right there, 50 million dollars sat right there, so we could have gone straight as a bam. You know, they're giving you 12, here's 14. So I blame us, but I also blame the Gambian man that sold a building outside of his race. Because if we don't have race priority, race solidarity, race unity, we are always going to be, you know, we're always going to be victims. Yeah? Victims to the theft, the wholesale theft of our resources by all kinds of systems. Manipulation, theft, war, invasion. So, you know, 2021, like you said, there needs to be a 2021 campaign. It's important what you're doing. Because we're at a crucial point in time for our race. We're the only race that do not practice race first. We do not have race loyalty. We do not have race solidarity. And we do not have race conformity. We would, you know, I see people coming to Africa, and I'm going to be honest with you, who are coming to repatriate, and they find it hard to wear African clothes. Now, when in Rome, they do as the Romans do. When you come to Africa, you do as the Africans do. When you come to Africa, be proud of your heritage. Be proud to finally be you. When I used to wear African clothes, when I used to go to work in Europe, they used to laugh at me. I remember I went to work. I worked at a university called the University of Essex, and it was a very racist place. And, you know, when I was working there, I found it to be incredibly toxic, incredibly racist. And I remember making complaints, going to the HR department, and I was working within the HR department and, you know, making complaints. And I remember going to work one day in my African clothes, and a member of staff saying to me, you know, am I going to a fancy dress party? Can you imagine that?
Mm. It is hard, Chris, and I understand. I truly understand you. That's why we're talking about this campaign. We have a lot of work to do. We should not underestimate that. But you know, like what you're doing in the Gambias, what we're sitting here every day and bringing you like advocacy, just to give a feedback. Because sometimes when we speak too much, we're not speaking from our own point of view. We're giving the voices and the platforms to anyone that has that spirit to say we need our own race solidarity. Like you're saying, most of us have actually just put the economical factor. Do you think that is also one of the issues? Like, I just want to do my business. What is the African way of doing business in relationship to the others? If we have the race solidarity, we will put race first, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, one of the African ways is collective finance, collective families, family structures, very important here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in Europe, you know, when you get to 16, your mom kicks you out. 17, your mom kicks you out. You've got to go and find your own way. And this is also part of the damage that was done to our families as a result of what happened during slavery. Our families were forced apart. I mean, if you can imagine, a mother, you know, would have to go and bring her child to what they termed as a slave auction. She'd have to, you know, wash her child that morning, you know, grease her child's body that morning, put her beautiful daughter in the most beautiful dress she ever owned, that she worked so hard for, right? Just to get given as a second-hand hand-me-down from someone in the house. And she had to put this second-hand hand-me-down dress on her child, comb her daughter's hair as nicely as she could, brush her child's teeth as cleanly as she could, and then bring her to the slave auction to watch white Tubab men prod at her private parts, prod in her child's mouth, tweak her child's young chest, and then take her child away, her child that she gave birth to never see her another living day because she was sold like property. And then we wonder why we have family issues. This trauma is in our DNA. It hasn't gone away because we haven't healed yet.
Yes. Very true.
So in Africa, family is the key. Unity is the key. Love is the key. And that's what I'm seeing here in Gambia. And I wish I'd seen this before in my life. Because we're all segregated and separated in Europe. If I see my brother from 1 month to the next, you know, everyone's just working, no one's connected. In here, people live in compounds. Compound, yes. I didn't even know what a compound was. You know, everybody's got their own house, their own flat, their own apartment. Everybody's doing their own thing with their own life. Everybody's living separately. You know, when you go to a naming ceremony and a wedding here, and the family's even wearing the same clothes as Shobi.
Correct.
I mean, you know how unifying that is. You know what it's like when they have the family meetings to discuss a family issue. And if it can't be resolved out in the family, it's resolved by the council of elders. Do you know, to have that support structure, what it would mean to us? Boys wouldn't be stabbing each other out in the street because there's something called respect. But we've lost that. So much has been stripped and torn from us. We don't even have dignity. We don't even know what dignity is. Because our humanity, just even who we are as human beings, is stripped from us on a daily basis, when we have to put on a face to go to work in Europe, right? When we have to put on a face, to go shopping. We have to put on a face to go to university, put another face to take your child to school, put another face while you're driving, you see the police, you've got to act as though, you know what I'm saying? You haven't done anything wrong, but you're still nervous. Yeah, you're constantly living in fear, and that's why I tell people, come home. You don't have that. Come home, you can be you. You can find your dignity, find yourself, find your spirit, find your soul, find your pride, and you can fit back into a family and into a village again. You know, we're happily integrating people back into the village right now, and we're working on the village of Bussorah. I am integrated into a village. I am on a VDC, which is a Village Development Council now, committee, sorry. And so, you know, this integration is happening. It's real, it's live. We're going back into the villages. We're being welcomed back into the families. You know, that's how I got my name, Nyancho Kajabi. You understand? It's because these names were given. And so it's important that we find our way home, because we don't belong in the West, and the West is not the best. It never has been. And it's not until you come home can you really put it to the test. And so what I'm trying to say is, what do you have there that I don't have here? Tell me. There's no difference. At the end of the day, what I do have is harmony and peace and love. What I do have access to fresh food. I can grow what I eat and eat what I grow. I don't have the pressures. I don't have the control. No one here can tell me to take a vaccine. I have sovereignty.
Juliet, I mean, me coming from the village on the continent, you know, you born in the diaspora. This is the kind of you're like my opposite, and then I came to live what you actually went through. Now you are experiencing what I came from. And you see, this nuance in this difference is what makes us, when you are having the experience of the continent and have been a diaspora. I'm originally from a village girl from the continent, and now I'm having the experience. That is why the telling of the story and the situation comes by experience. Do you think so? The teaching.
Oh, I mean, absolutely, absolutely, because you know, I think that I personally, if I had a choice, you know, I would never have wanted my family to go through slavery.
Yes.
And I would never have wanted to be born in the West. Never. I know people talk about poverty, but you face poverty in the West too. I know people that live their whole life on benefits because they couldn't get a job.
Of course.
So, you know, I know people that have been homeless. Even me, myself, at one point in my life, I was homeless in the UK. So I do understand the challenges that you meet there. And that's the reason why I put so much of my own energy into helping homeless people and my own time. Because like I said, I faced that situation once. And so I know exactly what it feels like. And so, you know, this myth that everything that, you know, glitters is gold in America and England is not true. And I urge people, go and look at videos of what's that place in America near Vegas, not near Vegas, near Hollywood in California, Skid Row. Skid Row. I urge people to go and look at Skid Row. Yeah, go and look at Skid Row. Just Google Skid Row. Yeah, USA, Skid Row, SKID Row, and see how some people are living. And that is real. And look at that before you think about getting in a boat and trying to kill yourself as you travel across the Atlantic and selling your family's land, yeah, in order to try and get to get better opportunities. It's better that you put your money together with your friends and start a business. That's what you need to do, is put your finances together, learn to trust one another, work with one another, and that's what we need to do. And to support them, we need to come back here and, you know, put our money where our mouth is and start to create employment opportunities, start to create new industries, you know, support agriculture, support agri-processing, manufacturing, you know, all of the soft industries as well, because they are needed, and infrastructural support is needed, healthcare is needed. You know, we need specialist doctors, we need a specialist trauma unit right now. I've been looking online at an ambulance that I can try and convert into a specialist trauma unit, a mobile trauma unit here. I'm trying to do so much, I don't even know where I get the time. But at the end of the day, you know, we've got to come here to help. And so that's why citizenship is important as well, because that is tied to our investments here. That is tied to our investments here, and the security and safety that you feel in the country. Also, your entitlements. So, you know, I've been very busy going and meeting various dignitaries since we last spoke, with regard to that as well. So, yeah, I've been very, very active in that regard. So, you know, in answer to your question, in summary, the fundamental difference is love, respect.
Um, it's freezing, right? Okay. Yeah, people, you can see, I don't know, I think the network is also responsible for the streams this day. It's not just only about maybe infiltrators. That should also be one of the first reasons we know it all. But one of the things that I think has been going on in the past 3 weeks, even from our own side, is the network is very, very bad. Now, you see, this is also one of the challenges that we're saying, you know, they can make it. Now we begin to see the limitations of other systems that we used to trust and rely on. Now, for 1 second, let's just begin to think that it's going to really crash so hard. Why are we positive that things might change? Why are we really not just mistrusting? Even in the difficult times, we still actually like hang on them even when we're free. I mean, our target, even on the campaign 21, is really go back home. I can't wait to take my boys back home on the continent this 2021. And I think no matter what we say, no matter how we do it, at some point in time, we would have to make some decisions, strategic decisions. We would have to make it, right? Like, I don't know, it's really unfortunate. I just hope that Juliet will be connected. You see how gorgeous this queen is, just sitting there, very low. I mean, relaxed. Doesn't mean she doesn't have problems or daily issues, but I mean, you're having it with your own people. What is more even different, right? Oh, thank God you're back, Juliet. Excellency Queen Juliet, you're back. Can you hear me, Juliet? Oh my, Juliet, can you hear me? You know,
Yes.
you are just everything that we're looking for. That woman that would deliver. I mean, it's just sitting there. I know your compound is getting big and big and big, and you're saying, Susan, what are you still doing? Just calm. I have enough space. Juliet, we are coming. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So go ahead. You were saying something very precious and beautiful, and I was just saying, I love this you, Juliet. You're so relaxed, beautiful, gorgeous, a queen. Tell us more, please. Just tell us when we need to just pack and go.
We need to. We absolutely need to leave. It's so important. It's for our mental health. just for the sake of your mental health, you need to go. Right? Because it's a very uneasy situation living among people who don't look like you. And two bubbles don't make it easy for us. And a lot of people like to pretend. And this pretense is putting stress on our mental health. They want to pretend that every day, everything's all right. Hey, Charlie, you're right. Everything's all right. I'm all right. How's the dog? The dog all right? You know, do you want to come soon? And then, you know, you're not who you are. And you don't even know who you are. Because for years, you've only been trying to please others. And so part of that pleasing of others has a lot to do with the mental damage that we're suffering, because we're having to have multiple personality. And by having multiple personalities, it thereby gives you multiple personality disorder. And we're also already suffering from post-traumatic slavery syndrome, as Dr. Groy spoke about, and also as Dr. Francis Cress-Welsing spoke about, and so many other scholars have spoken about. Faz Fanon talked about it in his book White Skin. You know, we are really, really suffering there. And I think that now even more so, when I look at the fact that they can have targeted campaigns specifically aimed at our communities. When I look at what's going on right now, where, you know, they're given these injectables, these experimental injectables, and they're aiming them specifically at our community. I have never seen so many advertising campaigns aimed at Black people in my life. Every single one of them. You had even Black MPs appearing in TV adverts. They pulled out every comedian, every Black person you could find, in order to tell you that you must go take this experimental injectable. Since when in history has that ever happened? It didn't happen with swine flu. It didn't happen with avian bird flu. It didn't happen with so many other pandemics which have happened. And so, you know, and when I hear things like, oh goodness, we didn't kill as many Africans as we hoped to, like what? You know, so when you hear this, you've got to start questioning. Yeah, would your enemy give you something that is good for you? Hell no. Why? Would the same enemy who used to come into your villages and burn them down with your grandmother and her daughter and her grandchild sleeping, would they come and give you something that's right for you? Would the same people that whipped you and stripped you and whipped you to death and left you to bleed hanging in a tree give you something that is good for you? Now, I want to ask everybody, have we lost sense of our mind, or has our mind lost its sense? You know, I heard that they were giving out Dunkin' Donuts and people were taking experimental injections for Dunkin' Donuts. Like, are we so cheap? We as a nation, we need to take back our sovereignty, our dignity, and our right to self-determination. This is our body. And we should not be scared by anybody or any kind of invisible enemy or any kind of invisible entity.
Yeah.
We are actors, we are warriors, we are fearless. And we will die for our cause, for our own cause. Not some kind of lab made up. Virus.
We hear you, Juliet. Exactly like you said, in terms of even the religion that we're talking about, why would they give you something and they say is to rescue you? If they can give you the least thing, they can give you just the least in life, but they will give you something, and that's something that will save you. Now, if you look at the situation, you already mentioned one of the things. We are the only race that would prefer even spirituality. Now we're trying to really put up a network of queens and mothers, right, and princesses, and just say, but we're seeing that from the research, nearly 80% are found in these churches, and they just give up and they just believe, yes, they're waging war, but they just believe that, oh no, there's no reason to fight because I have a God that fights for me. Juliet, how are we going to change that? How can we work together
Well,
with each other to actually educate our people differently?
well, I went to Kemet, um, and the area of Kush, now known as Egypt, and it was a life-changing experience for me. Now, when I was growing up, and I can only talk to my own experience, I can't talk to anybody else's or what kind of programming, dogma, and indoctrination they had being raised, because that is what influences us, is what we're raised with. Our parents play a humongous part in our early years education and our
Right.
influence. And they also play a part in the creation of fear.
Yes.
Okay. So when I was being raised, and I don't think I'm probably the kind of, I was raised in an average way, in the sense that I was different. Like when I am asked my father about, creation, about God, about so many other things. And so I asked my dad, because I wasn't brought up in a religious way. So I asked my dad, because I went to school, and of course in school you're taught religious studies. And so I asked my dad, because my dad wasn't really doing all of this traditional stuff. Like, obviously you're in a socialization in a European nation where you have Christmas and whatever, but we didn't really subscribe to it. And so it didn't really impact on me. And so when I asked him, well, Dad, what about God? What about, creation and the creator and this and that? My dad said to me, listen, you have two creators. One is your mother and one is your father. And we're the only people that can do anything to you right now that you need to worry about. So I didn't have that fear of an invisible force controlling.
Okay. Wow. Why would this keep happening to us people? Just be patient, warm your seat, because we can't miss this episode. And I don't know when we're gonna have time again to have Juliet here so soon this month again. So just be patient. We would be, just like yesterday, I sit on her, she sit on me, but we are on the same agenda. Yeah, this is one thing that she's been talking about, if we heard, healing. And we'll be having a guest on the show on Friday. And she's a queen on the continent. She's a civil engineer, but she's really into holistic spiritual healing. And her topic, just like Juliet is saying, we need healing. It is not just healing from the diaspora coming back, even on the continent, because we've been taught and brought up even during our parenting in a different way. Our parents have just facilitated the imperialists to give us all these religions and all these names. We never had the choice to choose. And in an African culture, you never even had the right or the choice to question. To just question your parent was too much disrespect. So it is an ignorance that has been going from generation to generation from our own parents, even living in that denial, in that space of denial, and just giving up because the same fear that put it into them. And now we are now passing on, we're just facilitating. Oh, Juliet, you're back. I'm so grateful you're back. Right. Yeah. So we were on that topic of healing and parenting, like you said, before you went out. Go ahead.
So, like I said, I always talk to respect everybody's faith and everybody's belief system,
Mhm.
because that's their own personal choice. However, for me, like I said, I wasn't brought up with dogma. So I wasn't brought up with that doctrine. I was brought up to be a free thinker. And so if anyone said, well, you know, what's your religion? I'm not, I'm a free thinker. I can think what I want. I can do what I want. I can be who I want. And so I didn't have that fear that there was any invisible force telling me what I can do, what I can't do. You know, I remember reading and being guided along the story of Ma'at and, you know, her guidelines and things like that. And, you know, the premise that I was brought up with was if you do good, good will follow you. Just do good. And that's it. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I can do that. And so that's like how I've always been. So I've always just been like a free thinker. I'm neither a Christian or a Muslim or anything. And, you know, I'm very interested in learning more about African spirituality, having been here on the continent and seen some of it. I'm really excited to learn more about it because I realized, hey, we've got some powers. And so we got some superpowers. And, you know, and what they've done is they've demonized our culture so that we will stay away from it. Hey, don't be scared, come back, it's all good. And so, yeah, you know, that's exciting for me because the healing power in herbs, the power of herbs, you know, we've got to get back to it. We've got to get back to the healing power of the earth because it is true. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've experienced it, you know, myself. And so the healing power of just being in Africa itself, because I was really poorly and sickly in the UK, and I am so much better now. I'm like 50, and I look younger now than what I did in the UK. I don't know how it works, but it works somehow. I don't know if it's the baobab cream, the bamboo cream, the shea butter, I don't know. Is it the water? Is it the food? But yeah. Definitely, it's like a reversal, you know. But definitely, I say to anybody and everybody, I'm not disrespecting anyone's belief structure. What I am saying is that it's time for us to look back to ourselves as well, because we have so much greatness within our own culture and history that I do not want us to lose or forget. We mustn't forget our own deities as well, and the fact that we had our own deities, and whether it be Ifa or whether you want to look to the Netta or you want to go back into our own philosophies that we had that were written by Imhotep and others. They exist. They exist. So even if it's not even a belief structure, but just empowerment, go back to Kemet, go to Egypt and see that the people and all of the inscriptions and all of the pictures in the Valley of the Kings, the Valley of the Queens, Osset's temple, Karnak temple, Chepsutok's palace. They all look like you. Go to Abu Simbel. Look at the wonderful things that our ancestors have actually done. There's evidence. And I think that, we have to start thinking logically, where is the evidence? There is evidence for our deities. There is evidence there that has been left for an eternity. And so the evidence is there. I don't know about anything else, but I know definitely the evidence of our deities has been there for us to see.
Mm-hmm.
They left their indelible mark on this earth for us.
I just said we're going to be reproducing a lot of Juliet spirit. This is about the spirit. It's not the physical anymore. Like anything that you believe has to be a fluid kind of way of thinking. Yesterday we had Dr. Bababuntu, and Juliet, I don't know if you've hosted him on your platform. I would highly recommend that you do. And Bababuntu was saying the same thing, like we need evidence. And sometimes we're just having an illusion of Africa that we don't even know. You buy that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think the illusion of Africa has been perpetuated by the Western media. The misinformation about Africa has been perpetuated by the Western media intentionally, to keep us away while they flood in the plains and they come here, you know, and take the prime land and the prime beach locations and living their life riding, you know, with no top on motorbikes and riding their quads and enjoying themselves, you know, while we're stuck in their cold countries serving them while they're enjoying their life here. And you know, this has to be a reversal. We have to realize that this is our home. This is our home. That, you know, I'm sorry, but Shabab say, well, freely and constantly, like they're God's hair. So, you know, whereas in England, you're looking over your shoulder, you're not comfortable. You know what I mean? But in Africa here, they all, everybody, every other nation is made to feel comfortable. Don't get me wrong, I feel totally comfortable here. And I'm very loved here. And the love is mutual. It's reciprocated as well, because it's the love here is real. And the love here is absolutely real. It's genuine, 100%. Wake up in the morning happy. Listen, sometimes I dream I'm in the UK and I start having like panic attacks. You know, just
It's so warm, it's so comforting just being at home, you know, Juliet, watching you, your smile, it's so contaminating everything. I mean, yeah, we have to dream differently. When we start dreaming our valleys, our Serengetis, our Mount Kilimanjaros, then we really are African in the spirit, isn't it?
It's so integral to your well-being. It's so integral to, I would say, a connection. There is definitely a solid energy connection that goes on, and it's a symbiotic relationship. When you come here, it's something, it's like a key going in the door, dunk, and you turn it and it opens the door. And it's almost like going through an alternative dimension. And that is what it feels like. It feels like, honestly, going from hell to heaven, if that is, you know, any such thing even exists. But I'm just using it as a definition. Or let's just say, yeah, from a bin to paradise, or from a dump to paradise. That is what it feels like. Because even at the worst situations here, you still smile. Even in the worst situations, there'll still be joke, yeah, or some kind of humor at the end of it. And every day there's joke here. There's something to smile about. We don't go to bed depressed. And the thing is that, like, even if like one person, like I say, I didn't get no time to go to the bank. Did you get any money? No. I said, let's go to the neighbor's house and get some food. And then we'll all sit there and we'll eat out of one bowl and we'll share the food. And then the next day I'll invite you to my house, you know, and, you know, get some food. And it's not even because you haven't got money, it's because you were so busy chatting, you forgot that the bank was going to close and you didn't go. And then I looked in my bag and I forgot my purse because I was so busy talking. It got locked in the office. So there, no money, just a car key. Right? So what I'm trying to say is that it's just life. And in England, that happened, I'll be panicking. Someone's going to steal my bag. This is going to happen. That is going to happen. Do you know what I mean? I would be freaking out. You know, but here I don't worry. I think, oh, I know they'll take care of it. I'm okay as long as I can go next door and get some food. I'll wait till they come home. You know, it's not even a problem. And so, you know, it's like they say, no problem, Gambia. I'm actually living that. It's different. I don't have to, you know, worry constantly. Am I going to get a parking fine today? Am I going to go get a speed camera zone today? Am I going to go through congestion charge today? You know, what's the bill? You know, right here, like I said, we did a song on Bla Xit, and it was called No Letterbox, yeah? And because we don't have letterboxes here, right? And every day in England, you used to be scared to see what was going to come through the door. What bill, what debt, what fine was going to come through the door, or if the TV license man was going to be knocking at the door, or if there was a debt you couldn't be paying, if it was a bailiff, like, you know. And so It's just like here. So we made up a song. It's called "No Letterbox." No letterbox. No letterbox. No letterbox. Because we don't worry about that anymore. And so, just the simplest little thing, gives you great joy in your life. And so, because you don't have also the religious dogma, you got no fear about. You don't have the responsibility of this or have to do that. You just free thinking. You just live your free life, and it's so much easier to live without fear. Because at the end of the day, one thing is that we're all going to exit this realm. Okay, we are all going to exit this realm because we all have to transcend. You have to transcend. You have to. Yeah, you're here for a purpose, and you have to undertake that purpose. And once that purpose is extinguished, it's time for you to undertake the next. And it's just as simple as that. There's no fear in it. Whether and most of the time, like when you pass, it's not, you don't even know it. It's like, painless. You might have had pain before, but when you get on the other side, you've forgotten all about it. And it is like a phenomenal experience. It's a really, really good experience. And so I think people fearing, that needs to change. And people feeling as though someone's responsible for where you go afterwards. No, you are. And so it's where your mind is at. It's as simple as that. You are what you think about. And so you become what you think about. And so we've got to remember the power of our mind, our conscious and unconscious minds. And so the condition of Africa could even change just by changing our mindset. It's as simple as that, because your thoughts have impact on your reality. If you think negatively, you get negative results. You think positively, you get positive results. It's been manifested so many times by people. So if we as Africans come together and put our minds together on the positive results that we are going to get, it doesn't matter what they plan to do. It doesn't matter how big their weapons are. It doesn't matter if they've got financial control. As long as you can eat and sleep, it doesn't matter. And if you can't, and if you transcend, well, so be it. You've already planted your seed. You've got your next generation. And so we just got to live more carefree lives. We have to be a lot more lighter in our experience, because this experience is supposed to be a good one. We didn't come here to continue to be slaves for anyone. We're not here to slave for anybody and to be enslaved by anybody. We're not here to conform to anyone or anything. This is our true existence as Africans.
Correct. I keep getting a lot of questions from or feedback from Africans that are actually undergoing and taking this transition period. A lot are learning. They're following your work. They're following the conversations that we're also hosting here, and pretty good. A lot of them are actually struggling now. It's like metamorphosing, right? They want to leave the old skin and they want to get the new one. And some already get it by when we just say your mindset, but some still really get that difficulty to understand, what do you actually mean changing my mindset? And when I listen to you, like what you were saying, like we need evidence. So probably in our teachings and how we continue, we're looking forward to start giving that kind of evidence on how your mind holds you accountable for things that makes you fear. For instance, we're talking your job, your bills, your work. And you see the same vocabulary keeps coming up. Even when the West systems want to, blacklist us, and they start saying, oh, look at 90% of the young people have no jobs. That is already a fear. And then we take this, we collect the statistics and we put it into landline. And now you see every politician, no, I want to do better because I'll be giving them, because 90%, they don't even have a clue. So that evidence in that purpose of putting that fear into young people without them even knowing that, no, you don't need that job. You can create a job. Like translating the word, Christians were like, I have my creator. Yes, we have a maker that created the whole dimension and this and whatever and the universe. But now you can also create by creating a space and a job in your life. So what between you being a creator and some other person that you look, he won't create that jobs for you. So do you actually see that the evidence that some people are actually getting difficulties to put the mindset, a transition, and the action together?
Well, yeah, I was actually writing a book, and it's called JOB, and it means your justifiable opportunity for betterment. Yeah,
Mhm.
and to change the mindset about what job even is. Yeah, a job is your justifiable opportunity for betterment. That is what it's supposed to be. It's not about
Mhm.
fear, not about worrying about the bills. It's not about worrying, yeah, am I going to have a roof over my head by the end of the day? Because at the end of the day, the more you stay in that system, the more it stays the same.
Yes.
The more you feed the system, the more the system will take from you.
Correct.
And so, as a mother, I have a 30-year-old. I have two 18-year-olds. One is my by biological birth. Another one is mine with my husband from a previous relationship. And I have a 10-year-old. And I am very, very open with my children. And
Mhm.
so the method that I use with them is that you have to find your soul and your spirit's journey, what you love to do. If you like make money, the key target, if you like, the key aim and objective behind what you do, rather than what satisfies your soul and your spirit, you will not get enjoyment from your life. You will not get enjoyment from doing what you want to do. Because I told them, you put enjoyment first, the money will follow. Yeah. And so that takes the stress out of the situation. And
Correct.
I said the same thing to my daughter. You will find it. Just put your time and energy where you enjoy it. It's not work. It's a justified opportunity for your betterment, and you're enjoying it while you're doing it. I
Mm.
enjoy doing what I'm doing. I face challenges all the time, and sometimes it's my own
Yes.
people, that have come from America, and even from the UK, that have come here to give me the hardest challenges, the
Correct.
hardest challenges. And, it's a shame, but I realize many people are disturbed. And because of the fear, that they have, it drives them to do things that aren't reasonable and
Mm.
illogical and not thought out. And so because I'm the kind of person that I am, you know, I don't really deal with forgiveness or not forgiveness. I don't deal with that whole paradigm. It doesn't really interest me. I
Mm.
just deal with what you do. I look at you by your deeds, yeah, and your actions. I'm not interested in your words.
Correct. Yes.
So, in terms of a job, it's about what you do to find your goal and your soul aim. Because if someone gives you a job, they can take it away. So you don't live in fear every day. I remember when I was employed and I had to sue my employer. Yeah, I had an accident, I broke my foot, I damaged my hip, and they went on to sack me, yeah, from my job. And what did I have to think about? Oh, I've got mortgage to pay, I've got children, I've got bills, I've got whatever. And I just thought to myself, I'm worrying about this, you know. And I
Mm.
used, my own intelligence and my own intellect in order, to find a way, because I was doing what I enjoyed, so it didn't really bother me. And
Mm.
if I'm not there doing what I didn't enjoy, because I didn't like the way in which I was being managed. So at the same time, it was actually a relief. So it was an answer to, my situation, because I was being managed differently, and then I was being managed by someone else. I didn't like it. In a different department, I didn't like it. So, in the back of my mind, subconsciously, I was thinking, boy, I'm in a situation I didn't like it. So, of course, although it was a broken foot and it was painful, I was allowed to, be out of that situation for a while. It gave me time to think, gave me time to recalibrate. And it was after that I said, right, I'm going back to what I like, which is business development. But
Mhm.
I'm not doing it for nobody else, I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for me. And so, I sat down with Adrian, we drew up a plan of how we're going to do it, and that's what we did. And so what I'm trying to say is that if you think based on fear, you'll always be controlled. If you think based on freedom, you will never be controlled.
Correct. Correct. Another question was coming up also, or some challenges that we've been like, on evidence, for instance, because we're looking really
Yes, I
actually
know
to
that.
get it also not only a holistic healing, it means a holistic healing, sorry, with herbals, start even from a holistic thinking. And so it is difficult if you are not Africanness in your mind to even get a herbal treatment, and you're gonna get, or to look the way you are. So the mind, it all starts from, refreshing and regrowing the mind, and then every other thing would just follow. I mean, you were talking about, if you look at our looks, and then the Western would say, all right, you take anti-aging. Like you're aging, they give you the food, the everything, and even the stress, you look old, and then they give you a cream. Oh, you got to take anti-aging. Right. So in Pan-Africanism, we are saying no. Now you don't take anti-aging, because automatically, you don't age when you think. So those two combination, right, of even thinking, I go to the church, and that's also a docile system, that every day Jesus or whoever is going to take my problems. But in the end, I have to still come back. I must make sure I go to work every day. Otherwise, I will not be able to meet my bill. So what is he actually taking up? Just taking that small time that I feel comfortable and I think all my problems are gone, but I'm going to work to pay those problems. How do we go about that kind of freedom?
Self-accountability. The problem is that we keep on, putting emphasis on that we have to give our problems to somebody else. What for?
Yes.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you have to be self-accountable. So I don't have the comfort of saying, oh, I'm going to pray for this, or I'm going to, rely on this person to bring it for me. No, I don't have that comfort factor. I know that I am accountable for making it happen. I know that I have to put my will, my desire, my intention, I have to write down my plan. I have to work out how it's going to, how much this is going to cost to put it into place. I have to know exactly what directions I'm going in. I have to write my own strategy. I have to then decipher the best time for that strategy. I then have to decipher the best people I can work with to execute that strategy. I have to look at how I can best utilize the outcome from that strategy. So it's on me. It's on me. I don't have any higher force to go to. I have to rely on myself, and I have to be guided by my ancestors, because some of them have done it before.
Yes.
So I can go back to the wisdom of my ancestors. I can go and read Marcus Garvey. Yeah, there are many, of our scholars that have laid down a foundation. So I think, wow, if I'm stuck, let me go think, what would, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing have done in this situation? She was never like that. She knew about socialization, social systems. How would she have challenged it? I think about some of our best lawyers. And I think Johnny Cochran, how would he have thought about it? And so, I look at, so where's his book? What did he write? What did he write? And then I'll go and look at it. So for me, the answers are always there. It's whether you seek them out or not. If I do something wrong, I'm accountable for it.
Absolutely.
I can't say the devil done it. I can't say I have to be accountable for it, and I have to find a way to atone for it and to apologize for it, because I'm not seeking your forgiveness. I deal with that. That's an easy way out.
Wow. It's I don't know how I can say this, Queen, but it's just as real as simple and as easy. But the the transition for others that have not crossed over like we've done through our experiences and through going out. One other thing that I would like you and or we would like to treat here with you this evening is the money aspect. If you look at the way I give from my own example, like you said, I grew up in the village. And for an African, money, we never had like, paying some attention to money when somebody gives you money. And we see even in our cultures today, you give money to a child, he takes that, it's a paper. But we keep saying, oh, that's money. You put the value, it's a $5 bill. Ah, that's money. And the child will takes it and just like throw it or put it in the mouth because it's for him, it's paper. Right. And so we keep putting that video. But the village culture that I grew up with, like, because you have everything. We go to the stream, we fetch water, we go to the farm, we farm with my parents, and we go, even getting milk, we will have it from fresh cows that eat only organic and salt, and everything was just different. You never had this. But at a certain point, because you went to school, you study, you start looking at Europe and like, oh no, I'm poor here because I'm a farmer's daughter. My parents live in the village, and then suddenly you start, looking at those that actually were miseducated, and you start envying them. When is the point? Until I get to this point and I realize everything was all a fallacy. I mean, I'm just a queen, I own everything, and it's comparable to that. What will it take us to actually get this kind of an experience that we get to a point? Does it also take age and time and experience, or we start teaching it from birth?
I think teaching it from birth. I'll give you an example. If there was a solar flare right now, yeah, where you are in the world, and there was no electricity, okay,
Yeah,
all your electricity grid is completely down. Yeah, I'll tell you what it will affect for you. Yeah, and then I'll compare it to what it would affect for me. Okay, because the sun would still shine, but your electricity grid would be down. Okay.
yes,
Because it would affect your electromagnetic system there. Okay, it would also have impact on your infrastructure for transport. It would have effect on your infrastructure so far as electronic communications is because you would have no electricity.
mm-hmm.
It would also impact on your hygiene because water pumping stations would stop. It would also impact on your supermarkets, which of course all the cooling and refrigeration units would stop.
Mm.
The transportation stopped. Your traffic lights aren't working. Your schools are closed because there's no electricity.
Mm.
And your open markets are closed because there's no electricity. Your house is cold because there's no electricity. Your gas is not working because it's attached to an electric meter. Yeah. Your street lights aren't working because there's no electricity. And so you've gone back in time. Now, if you ask me, how would I survive without electricity? If there was a solar flare, it wouldn't affect me because I'm not on the grid. Firstly, as long as there's a solar flare, it means I'll be charged up electricity for a long time because I'm solar. Secondly, my water comes from the earth, so it wouldn't affect my pumps whatsoever because I'm totally solar. And thirdly, I would still be getting my food. I can work with darkness. If I need to iron, and for example, if I didn't have solar, I use my coal iron. I have my donkey if I need to get from A to B. So what I'm trying to say is that, we need to rethink the basics in life. I can go in my garden right now and pick food and eat it. I can eat my own watermelons. I can eat my own bananas. I can eat my own corn. I can eat my own pawpaw. I have avocado trees. And so for me, it's a different situation. If I wanted to grow rice, I just make a damp pad, in my backyard and can grow my own rice in my own course. So what I'm trying to say is that we need to reverse it. We need to go back to farming here. I have 2 community farms here, and which for me is important because I want to share those seeds in the same way that, as you know, your brother and our friend has got the same intention, and that's why he's here. And so we need to come back and reinvest in agriculture. So being a farmer's daughter, you'd have the first one who'd have resource to food. So everyone will be jealous of you. That's for one. Everyone will be totally jealous of you. Yeah, because farmers always have food. Yeah, even in a bad crop, they have a bad crop. They always have seeds, put down from the last season. Yeah, so you think about it. Without the internet, some people can't order food, some people can't live. Yeah, without a car.
Okay. Right. I think. Can you hear me, Juliet? No, she can't. Yeah, she's there, but she can't hear me, and she's speaking. Right. It's freezing. My technical is saying we just be patient because it's not freezing, but she's speaking, so probably we can get some signal. Come on, Iya. All right. Okay. Frozen, and so okay. I hope we would get her, but she was actually saying that kind of explaining the kind of feeling sometimes when I sit and I look at us, and I just don't know how I can actually transmit this feeling when I grew up where I grew up as a village girl. It is so hard for someone that hasn't known it. And sometimes I know the price that I'm paying for being in the Europe is not a price, but because we reject Africa, particularly us coming from the continent where we have everything, and we look up to another thing. So you won't have to come get that experience to be able to appreciate yours. And exactly that's what I have in Germany, 22 years. I have learned to see the weaknesses in the system. And that was the only reason where I could appreciate my own. That's when I start even discovering who I am. Because coming from the continent, you have no clue who you are. Of course, you take it for granted, right? But when I realize how much even the Germans that we live just worship Africa, how they're running out from their own system, that's like I'm coming out from something I think that was not enough for me. But then I see even the same place that I'm running to, this same very so-called rich or civilized, they're going back to what I left. So what is chasing them? And so this opportunity and the chance to experience both what we think is the best, I think it's also good for the diaspora like you, Juliet, that have been here. We're giving them actually that opportunity to say, yes, you've known one set of things, why don't you try the other? I also grew up in a Christian home and a believer home, actually. And I also think it also helped me a certain part. But then I reached a stage when I said, why should I know only one thing? Why don't I try the others? Then I start going back into my spirituality and I realized it's just a rich combination of even having one and then knowing the other, not just knowing only one and functioning in that same system. Juliet, do you have that same feeling? If you actually did not get what you had here, you would not be able to even discover who you are and where you're coming from.
Well, I personally, I just love to learn. I'm like an autodidact in the sense that I'm always reading, I'm always learning. I love to learn about, everybody's culture. I used to love traveling. I still do love traveling, by the way. And I've been to a lot of countries, I think 29, something like that. And so I just, I find it interesting. And there's always been a commonality in everything and every place that I've been to. Whether it was Greece and I went to a museum, I would see African artifacts showing that we were there. I would go to Turkey and in Fethiye, I would see, the carved out castles in the rock. and know that we were there. I would go to Sardinia and see the 4 African heads on the flag and know that we were there. So then the more that I saw, the more that, I became really proud about us and our ancestors, that we circumvented the globe and, we introduced civilization. And in fact, I always say that living in Gambia is far more civilized than living in the West, because here people say hello to you. That to me is civil behavior. Yeah. And people care for you. That is civil behavior. In there, you walk past people every day in the street. You don't know anybody's name. I'm not saying that, okay, during rush hour, you're going to be passing people on the train and saying hello to everybody. But you can be sat next to someone on the train and they're looking at you like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're some kind of killer or something. And and now with the pandemic and the way people are treating each other, is brought out real, the fact that there's no civilization really there, because that is not civilized behavior.
Absolute.
Social distancing is not, normal human, conduct and civilized behavior. Having to live, under an antenna that is feeding out and pushing out radiation to you, that is making you feel ill, is not civilized behavior. Civilized behavior is looking after one another. Civilized behavior is looking out for one another. Civilized behavior is even acknowledging each other's presence. And that is not even done there. I remember I lived on one street where an old lady, she died and no one didn't even know. No one didn't even know. She must have been in there like 3 or 4 days. And, flies and smell and whatever is what attracted people, to the fact that she passed away. Even a young Black sister, the same thing happened to, and it was because her autistic son had run down the road that alerted people to the fact that she had passed away. So what I'm trying to say is that wouldn't happen here. You would know, because everybody in the village knows each other. And so, even in my village, I know my local doctor, I know my local neighbors, they know me, I know the women in the village, I know the local politicians. I couldn't say that. I couldn't say that before I lived in the UK. You might know your neighbor, that's about it. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And even then, sometimes you can live in a building, like in flats, and no one knows anybody's name, and you pass them every day. And so, I much prefer this version of civilization. It's far more civil in my perspective. But in terms of getting back to what you were saying, I think it's about looking into and looking at the strands of things that are useful to you. Useful to you. Because if I look at, for example, Buddhism, they've got some forms of meditation I find quite interesting, And sometimes my mind races at, 1,000,000 miles an hour. And so I stop, take a deep breath and then, empty my mind for a minute and then allow information to drip in, because I've got to sit in my stillness, sit in my moment and allow information, to permeate, to go through me, for me to hear it, to see it, to visualize it, to imagine it, and so that I can then take the next steps of bringing it into fruition. And so, for example, that's just an example. When you look at, for example, Christianity, there's the commercialism of Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah, they have the art of commercialism. Okay, Christmas is one of the best and most commercialized holidays. And it doesn't even really happen that day. Yeah? Sure. So as a business person, you know when to capitalize. Yeah. And not only that, you got to remember that there are also benefits. Some people use it to their advantage because they know people's weakness based on their belief structure. Yeah. For example, I might know that on a certain time of the day or a certain time of the week where most Muslims will be. So if I was, for example, wanting to go somewhere, I'm going to travel at that time when the roads are clear. You see? Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to be in a system, yeah, to understand it. You don't have to be indoctrinated by something to learn it. Yeah, and we need to understand how we've been so intoxicated, so enhanced, and so hypnotized, and we suffer from, a lot of. I don't know if this is the right word to use, but when anything's challenged, yeah, we take it personally in the sense that it's like. No, I think that's the wrong word. But what I'm trying to say is that basically we have a personal, like someone says to you, oh, I didn't know about that in your religion. And you take it as a personal affront, like you have to carry the mantle for that. We don't have to be personally responsible for someone wrote 1,200 years ago, or 1,400 years ago, or 1,500 years ago. We didn't write it. Do you understand? We didn't write it. And it's like Chinese whispers. And so in a sense that, what was said 1,200 years ago, passing back down today, is not going to be exactly the same. It's like Chinese whisper. When you used to play it in school, you used to whisper in someone's ear, like tomato. By the time it got all the way back, yeah, it was a cart. It was never the same word. And so what I'm trying to say is that there's no transliteration. The only transliteration or evidence for what we actually know is there in Kemet and other sites around the world, in Africa particularly, where evidence has been by our ancestors, and it's for us to decipher them. Yeah? And so, like I said, we've got a lot to learn, but it's about what you gain out of what you're learning without being controlled by it.
Okay.
That freedom for being a free thinker. And being a free thinker enables you to study every single religion, every single religious book, and every single historical reference to it, without being entranced and put into dogma. Okay. And I think being a little bit separated from it enables you to be a student as opposed to a subject to it.
I see a question in the chat. I mean, going back to the facts and concerning the citizenship in the Gambia. And then also, I think you have a project coming up, the school. Can you just tell us more about that? This question is saying, is the Gambia government any closer to giving a citizenship?
Yes, in fact, we've been having some good results. That's why I've been smiling, smiling a lot these days. In fact, just to give you a brief synopsis, because I know you've got time you haven't got a lot of time on your show. So a brief synopsis is that we actually have met with the Vice President of the Gambia, Dr. Aissatou Toure, and in Jamaica they'll say she's an Irish sister, and she's a Pan-Africanist. So can you imagine? The State House, Susan, she's got knowledge abound. The woman is intellectually astute. She has knowledge about our history and Pan-Africanism. She is a solid woman who supports women. She was so encouraging. She, basically said that, progress is being made, it is being looked at. She said that they discussed Bla Xit in the cabinet and the executive and in the House of the National Assembly. She said that, she said to me that, what was she said to me? She said to me that I've got charisma and something else. She said something good, but like you say, people can't unhear me. She said people can't unhear me. Something to those words. I can't remember. It was really complimentary. But being with her, it completely motivated me and inspired me. Because if that is what a female vice president of Africa is like, the future is bright. You know, the future is bright. She's got her head screwed on. She is conscious, forward looking, and she is totally focused, and she knows the goals. And despite the fact that we live in a very patriarchal society, she holds her own. And so that was enthusiastic. She gave us a lot of her time too. So I'm very grateful to Her Excellency, Dr. Aissatou Toure. And the fact that she knew the history of Pan-Africanism, she understood the impact of citizenship. She understood the impact of colonialism on Africa. She understood the impact of colonialism on us as well. And she shared her thoughts uncompromisingly. And so it was deeply motivating. And then to top it all, after this, we had an event called Unity in the Community. And several members of Parliament had come along. We were basically being championed by already some MPs. Honourable Samba Jallow, Honourable Osman Toure, Honourable Sako Maron, Honourable Solomon Saho, 4 names that really came to mind in terms of being behind us. And so what actually happened was that they went to the National Assembly, which is the equivalent of our parliament here, and they gathered the support of 23 other National Assembly members to support a private members bill. Wow. Yeah. And so, so we were called to a meeting in the National Assembly, and I didn't have to talk. They spoke for me. It's like they understood where we were coming from. They understood that we want to come back into the villages. They understood, our pain. They understood that, and one man, he said to me, in this room, I can take you to a village, each and every one of you. And no one would know if you did not open your mouth that you were not a Gambian. He said, so who is anyone to judge you? How can you be less African than me? If I have a child and that child is born outside of Gambia, is that child not still a Gambian? Me, I rest my case, I hardly said anything. I didn't even have to. And so having that support changes everything. I am no longer walking uphill, I am sitting at the top of the mountain with my brothers and my sisters.
Congratulations, Excellency. You know why? Of course, you did not just sit and find yourself on the mountain. You walked up there. And so you must have done some work, and now you're sitting up there. So we actually congratulate you, Our Excellency, out there. And yes, imagine we do that to Gambia. It's going to take us, 2-3 years to go around all these governments, and we're going to do the same thing, like the Gambia model, and just talk to them. Some of them, I know they need a lot of education, the same like we're doing. All of us are in the same boat. So even though sometimes we look at them and think that they're much better, if they are not conscious, like this Excellency Aissatou Toure, you would forget that. So the consciousness, like you're saying, the mind, the learning, it's every one of us, from the presidents to the least commons to us out there. It's a whole learning process. Tell us about this school, Juliet.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. So here we embarked upon a project in an area called Bussorah. And I just want to talk about 3 really important individuals. One is my brother Lamin Kajabi, who integrated us and adopted us into the family. Also, Honourable Lamin J. Sane, who gave me my integration, and a very crucial, important person is Alcalo Aliu Fai.
Wait, hold on, Juliet, hold on. When you say he integrated you into the family, what do you actually mean?
Okay, so I'll explain to you the process in a second. So Alcalo Aliu Fai, all of these people were instrumental in the process. That's why I'm giving you their names. And also, Mr. Luta, who is the head of the VDC, the chairman of the VDC, which is the Village Development Committee, and also the Council of Elders as well. And so what happened was that you're invited to the village. And Mr. Jallo, who was totally instrumental in all of this, because he's the person who brought me to Bustora in the first place. And so we went to the village, and then we were invited to a meeting. So I met some of the elders and my brother's family and the Alcalo. And when we met, we hit it off. It was like we were a real family. It was like there was a connection. I cannot describe to you this connection. It was awesome, awesome. Anyway, as a result of that connection, they decided to allocate 550 by 330 square meters of land, right, to us. Yeah. And so I said to them, look, you know, that is really kind of you, but let's do a development. Let's do something that benefits the village and also will benefit us, and we can have, you know, integration. So they said yes. What they did is they created an event and they created a certificate, and then you have to go and spend time with your family. So like each week, like I got to go tomorrow, like every week. You go and you spend time with the family, you go to the family meetings, the family naming ceremonies, the family weddings, and every day you sit down. I even been to work with my brother, which is great because he's a headmaster and I love the children at the school. And so, yeah, you go and then basically they have meetings and you go to the meetings and you talk about everything. And, you know, at one point I cried because I was releasing my pain because the family, half the family, everybody talks about who they are, their background, and what they do. And when I listened to all of them had, you know, responsibilities and were proud of who they were and what they had done. And I cried because that's what we lack is purpose. You know, and I cried because for a long time I didn't feel, you know, my purpose. I feel it now, but for a long time, you know, when you're in Europe, you just live to eat. You know what I mean? You live to pay bills. You live to pay taxes. You live to survive, and you live in fear of having that insecurity of not being able to pay those bills. And you know, and what happens then? You know, and so. Basically, yeah, that was part of the integration process, which is beautiful. They also teach you the language, they teach you the culture. Like, you know, I love my mom. Yeah, my mom in the UK, she's beautiful. I love her to bits. But I was also introduced to a Gambian mom who's much, much older than my mom. And, you know, who sits and sews and, you know, picks a sorrel and, you know, does things a completely different kind. And I really like her. So she's teaching me little parts of the culture and getting introduced to like compo and so on in the Jola culture. So that was totally exciting. The other side of it, of the integration, and also of course with the land, is that I was able to gain some plots of land, which was amazing, you know. And I said to them, no, we're going to actually buy them. Let's do an exchange. And like they wanted to give us the land totally free. I said, no. Yeah, I believe in paying as you go. So I will pay so it benefits the community. Yeah, because they felt that we should have this land for free because land was taken from my ancestors. But I said, your village is not in a position right now to be as sustainable as it should. You need a new marketplace. You need other things. So allow us to make, payments, have development plots and market value plots, and we will pay. We don't mind. So I was able to gain that land, and that land is where we're putting our first Pan-African Institute. And so last night I was talking to Tony. Tony Mendy is a huge fan of yours, by the way. And Tony Mendy from Gambia said to me to tell you hello and to tell you that on the 25th of May, he's been a guest with you before. On the 25th of May, he's having, I think it's going to be the first and biggest African Liberation Day celebration at the university, because they have opened the first Pan-African Students Association at the University of the Gambia. So things are changing radically and rapidly here, and Pan-Africanism is catching. So we're having a lot of support, and you'll be glad to know that most people that I met said 15 years is way too long. We've been a lot in the social media platforms here, like Fatu Network, Kerr Fatu, also QTV, Paradise TV, in the Standard newspaper, the Point newspaper, the Faraya, had the support of Honourable Halifa Saleh. And Honourable Halifa Saleh is a wonderful supporter and a wonderful man. He's so intelligent. I wish you would have him on your show again.
Please, I need contact, of course. We'll talk about that later. All of these people, they have to be here.
Yeah, I'll definitely give you his number. And like I said, Honourable Sekuma Rong is really helping us along with the private members bill. And so, yeah, it's like, and it's not hard, because in the when we were talking before about the Constitution, and we had the CRC, which is the Constitutional Reform, Review Commission. Then during that time, there was Section 188, which talked about reducing it from 2 to 4 years. And the program that we want for automatic citizenship is 2 years anyway. So 2 to 4 years is a great compromise, and I've even seen other Gambians go on a channel and say, oh, I don't like the word automatic, they need to change it, blah, blah, blah. But, I kicked off. I absolutely kicked off about it, because let me tell you something. Other nations have had it in their constitution, have no problems with it. Yeah, and we as Africans have to stop creating division. There needs to be unification and not division. There shouldn't even be any barriers, checks or balances to us coming home. Correct. Right? Even the colonial systems that people already have in place, we have to compromise, right? And the fact of the matter is that when our ancestors were taken in boats, they did not have passports. They had hot metal, right, branded from a fire onto their skin, okay? That was their passport ownership. When they went into a boat, there was no immigration. When they were thrown overboard, right, in chains, weighted down by stones, to be eaten by sharks and fishes, and to be left at the bottom of the ocean, there was no National Assembly making a decision about them. So when we're coming back, we don't want to be here to be, oh, we need to screen them. We need to double screen them, double screen them. What are you talking about? It doesn't have criminals in it. You can't even get out of England if you've got a certain kind of crime anyway. So you already screen before you even leave. And then, you know what makes me laugh? You get, hundreds of thousands of too-bad tourists coming in. They're not screening them. They're not screening them. So why are you talking about us? We got to stop this self-discrimination and self-hate. There was one particular vlogger, and I must admit, I was so disgusted with what he said that I unsubscribed. And I never unsubscribed, because I always like to support my own. Yeah? But I unsubscribed, and he's Gambian. And he doesn't even live in Gambia. He lives in the States. And I think he's even a Jamaican woman. And so how could you even say that? Change the word and do this. There needs to be this. There needs to be that. Who are you? You're no more African than I am. We are one. We are the same. And I keep saying it. One, we are many. And as many, we are one.
Correct.
So when people come with, oh, they have to be this, they have to be that, stop treating us as others and they. We are you. What we are is the embodiment of your ancestors returned. Whether you like it or you don't like it, we're back.
Firebrand. Elle s'appelle Juliet Ryan. She is called Juliet Ryan. As you saw it, I already asked us to dance to this tune and to wear these names, right? It is a spirit, the spirit of your ancestors adopted you, and you're just doing exactly what you're doing. It is not, nobody should ever think that they can do anything to you. I can already guarantee you. I mean, the same spirit we share, in the same ancestors, we come from one. And even the transition, we know who we are. Nobody, no, talk less of a queen mother like you would fear or scare you. They all are sons, they all are daughters, they're all ours. We created them. And so, what you're doing, it's not even, in any place anyone that would tell you. So just like the mothers do, you've been to the village and you know how we are corrected, right? So
Yes.
it doesn't mean whether it's a president or who. You're just gonna correct them the way you know it. I'm not gonna say it here, you know it. So, and you have that power, you have the authority and that greatness to just do that. Doesn't matter. Particularly those that just even sit somewhere like you talking in the dungeons and want to tell you something when you are home, please. Right? You see how I reserve my words because I come from the village, I know it all, but just seeing you there, you know how much respect. And so we should just sometimes sit and listen a lot. When you are going back and tapping into that source and want to teach us, the best thing is we just shh and listen. Yeah. So Queen, I don't know how I want to say this. It's always that kind of a blessing when a mother comes and the name of the race, in the name of the ancestors, in the name of the God of the creation to bless us. And you've just been doing exactly that. And that spirit that you're giving to us, I can assure you, my queen, it is working. It is working. You can also the systems, even as we were talking about, the issue of the vaccines and everything. Now you see the whole structure shaky. And we prophesied and we talked about it here. What we started, Tony Jaja was here, and we said all these systems would collapse. Not even a single African believed, not even us believed it. But you know what? You're going to be seeing it. Even sometimes we see it, we don't even still believe. But they're going to collapse all the systems, even in coming together to just infiltrate and to kill from our children for generations to generation. You can never stand whole. They are breaking. So it's just that time, and your ancestors calling you, raising the queens and the daughters and the kings, and those that are already conscious, no fear of anything. Nobody is going to do us nothing. No, nothing. So, Queen, I thank you so much. What is it that we should learn again, or you need to tell us before we leave, Juliet?
Okay, I just want us to remember that as one we are many, as many we are one. Yeah, if you hurt me, you hurt yourself.
Mm.
Yeah. And so, there have been like even many personal, issues where people have like, trying it. So I know what you're saying. I had like Prince Strickland, Modena, Dwayne Herbert. I've had, Camilla, other people, and even surprisingly other people, try it. And I've got to tell everybody, yeah, I didn't come here for no reason. I came here for a purpose. You didn't come to this planet. You are not here right now for no reason. You're here for a purpose. Yeah. And your ancestors are calling you home.
Mm.
Hear the call. Listen to the call. Follow your dreams. If you need assistance, ask. Yeah. Ask. And you will return home. And the thing is, my village life is sweet. Yeah. My village life is so sweet. I live in my village.
Tell them. Just tell them.
My village life is beautiful. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. If you gave me $1 billion to live in the States, the UK right now, I'd have to tell you that wouldn't be my lottery. You can keep it. I'd
Thank
rather
you.
stay right here. Yeah. This is my lottery win. All these years I was thinking about winning the lottery. I didn't realize what the lottery was. The lottery is coming home. Yeah. And people can say, oh, but I don't have any money, or I don't have this. I've seen people club their money together and build their little commune and live quite happily, you know? And so working collectively works. And we have to start working together. There needs to be unity. There should be a borderless Africa. There should not be borders between African nations, African countries. We shouldn't even have to put into place a free trade agreement. We were separated by a Berlin conference. A few old grizzly two-babs sat at a table who had a mission to make sure they could destroy us. They're not going to destroy us, but AI is going to destroy them. I'm telling you, mark my words.
I hear. I know.
AI, yeah, don't buy into it. Don't buy into this whole technological, I don't even know if I'm going to call it facade. It's a facade. Don't buy into it. Our ancestors lived for this long by, you know what they did? Making and growing their foods, yeah? Having subsistence, yeah? Having their waters and their clean rivers, yeah? Living by nature. And that's how we're going to survive it, because we're moving into a new quantum leap age. If you don't know it, then see it. And the best thing I say to you, my sister, is make your plans to get out. And I mean it, yeah? Time is of the essence. If you think what's happening and then, you know, being able to stop all the planes around the world from flying, how did it make you feel for that 1 second when you thought, I can't get out? How did it make you feel when they landed, when they had grounded all of those planes and you realized that you couldn't get out? It's the same way it made me feel when I thought, oh my gosh, I might not be able to see my children.
Mm.
Yeah? And then I thought to myself, everyone's got to make their own decisions about their own destinies. And so I have to just deal with whatever the outcome of their decisions are. And so they've decided that they're coming. And so, you know, if my children can decide that they're coming home and they're coming to Africa and they're winding their business up and everything else to come, yeah, that tells me it's a signal that we all need to start getting our suitcases. You know, I'll work 24 hours a day to help people to come home. I don't mind. Yeah. But I'm telling you this, pack your suitcases, make that financial plan, know how much it is to build a basic home, find out how much it is to have a basic car, find out how much it is to ship your goods, right? Make a plan with people that you can amass your money, club your money together, get rid of things you don't need, start buying and selling. We have always been merchants. We have always been merchants. We have always bought, sold, and bartered to each other. That has been the fundamental. Market has always been the fundamental source of income for us as Africans.
Mm.
So let's go back to our market, our black market. That's what black market really means. Don't listen to what they're saying. They're scared of the black market. That's why they make everything black negative, because they're scared of black people creating their own market, creating their own capital, creating their own economies, creating their own finances, having their own government. If China can have one government, why can't Africa have one power system and have the United Empires of Africa? Because we were empires before we weren't states. So we can do this, sis. We can do this. Remember, whether I'm here or in another realm, you can't unhear me. No one can unhear me. and no one can unhear you.
It is called Bla Xit, means exit. Yeah, come back home. And we're talking to Juliet Rianne, the queen of the continent. And if you need help and contact and support and information, I mean, even though she works 24/7, doesn't mean that she's gonna be picking every call or anything like that. I mean, ask strategic questions if you need really that kind of support. If she's not accessible because she's too busy, drop us a comment or your questions here. We would actually channel it to her. Queen, you're doing the biggest work that every Black queen warrior did. And Juliet, we know it from our history. Sometimes when we say, and then they say, oh, now they're getting into it. No, no warrior liberated us from the slavery apart from the African woman. The queens were the one that fought those battles and really brought us out of these colonial systems. And even, we know all that story. But because we are already into this blanket kind of thinking that even our own men, our brothers, our sisters, our kings are even put against us, the moment you want to explore that chance of supporting and helping us, then you become a strong woman that should be brought down and should be teared down. I think there's really, really a lot to learn, or in this kind of a gender-based Western culture of the woman and the man. In our culture, we never knew any difference like that. I mean, we've been schooled a couple of times by Professor James Small, Dr. Jeffries, and all of them will still be coming on the show. They are part and parcel of this dream to make sure that we free one, we free all. Yeah. So, Juliet, it's a pleasure. It's a warm-hearted conversation that we've had here. Two sisters just talking and exchanging and sharing and teaching and learning from one another. What more else can we actually ask from our ancestors?
I'm going to call you Vita now, sis. I'm going to call you Kim for Vita from now on.
Yeah.
I'm calling you Kim for Vita. I'm not calling you Susan. I'm going to call you Kim for Vita Efua Tata.
Efua, yes, Nana. That's it. Wow. Thank you so much. I'm already uprooting it. That's right. I'm already uprooting it. Yeah. So thank you so much, Juliet. We appreciate your time. I don't know how soon we're going to have you here, my queen, because of your schedule. But of course, like a mother, we cannot just give breast one time. We give it all the time because the children need to grow. And so just learning from you, you would actually have to find some time to always come teach us. And while we're putting that structure out there, to put out the philosophy out there on the school, we wish you all the blessings. We're giving you all the strength, and all of us are just behind you. Anytime you need us, we're also here. You know where to find us.
You're on Bla Xit next. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. Thank you to everybody who's watching, and thank you for having me. But you are on Bla Xit next. You better schedule it in. I'm watching for your WhatsApp.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Juliet. All right. Yeah. Bye-bye. I share. Hotel to your family back there. Thank you. Power, power, power. It was a joke, and it is not going to be a joke. It is going to be the way it is. Tomorrow, we are going to talk about issues that are actually affecting our continent. And we're also going to have another queen. It's going to be a month for queens now because, like I said, we're actually building a network of Pan-African mothers that just want to nurture and just bring back the strength, mothers that are going out from the old system and embracing the new African spirit. And so tomorrow we're going to have a queen. She's all seated there. You all know her. For those that have been watching Africa Arise, she is called Susan West. And she's born and raised in Africa, particularly in Nigeria. And she actually wants to give us an overview of the situation that is boiling out there in Nigeria. So it's not really going to be that kind of a conversation like this one that we just had with Queen Juliet. I think it's going to be more of this kind of Western structures that have been planted, be it an indigenous religion that is just making two brothers and on the continent to just fight and kill themselves. We've been seeing a lot of blood just flowing out there. And unfortunately, it's always going to cut up on the innocent ones. So please join us tomorrow with Susan West, and we're going to be sharing that conversation on Nigeria. Like I said, we're going to have a queen also coming from the continent, from the Zulu nation, and she's going to be talking to us about this holistic spiritual healing. Why do we need it so badly now? I mean, every African should be so thirsty now for the continent, for them own selves. So what is stopping us? What is the bridge? What is it that we need to do to connect more further and to tap into this energy? So we're going to be talking about that. So Saturday, we are going to have something extraordinary. But I'll have to check that first. But let me just jump up to Sunday. Sunday, we are having also another conversation on a political scale with Tim Frank. Tim Frank, like I said yesterday, is refugee somewhere out of his own land, Nigeria. We really want to put an eye on Nigeria. Like we all know, we say the Nigerians, particularly the Igbos, are the Jews of Africa. I mean, I'm talking in terms of even the culture, the Bantus, they're Bantu. So we're going to be knowing why. Why is the situation? Are we on a wrong spot? Who is actually schooling us out there? Why are we killing each other? Why is this conflict between the Yorubas and the Muslim communities, or, you know, the Fulanese fueling more? Who is behind this? Who is this invisible hand that keeps perpetuating and wanting to keep us more divided? I look forward to this week. It's a very powerful week, and even next week we're fully booked the whole month, and 80% queens and mothers that are saying, now we are awoke. Let us see what we can do for our people. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the conversations. Like I said, if you're here for the first time, do not forget to join our campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers. Make sure you are subscribing as we're speaking if you're here for the first time. And if you're not doing that, please give some other person the opportunity, or even if you have done, it doesn't stop with you. It starts with you. So you tasted, and so you want to invite your brother to be a part of this new Africa, Pan-African Africa. Yeah, a one Africa for Africans worldwide. That is all what our goal and our aims and our objective is all about. So we'll be seeing us on the continent. We're not going to be streaming or doing all these things like Queen Juliet is just telling us all these things. We're going to be sitting somewhere comfortable at the fireside and telling these stories in future. And that's the spirit we want to give to our children. But right now, we are about building, and we want to reach out to every single African there on the planet that has not ever had that contact. So please share the videos, ask them to subscribe so that we can carry on the schooling that we are doing here on the Pan-African Daily TV. So we see ourselves tomorrow, same time, and come prepared. And I guarantee you, nothing is going to happen to us, because nothing happened to us. They did something to us. Rev Shock would also be live with us this month, and save the date 27. Nothing is wrong with you, African. They did something to you. I mean, he's always been on this, but he's going to take it from another dimension. Okay. I still have to confirm Monday with Dr. Baba Buntu, but your feedbacks were incredible. For those that actually even missed that show, I still got calls up to this morning. Naisha could not sleep. Patrick could not sleep because we had a lot of emails coming in that they missed the show for whatever reason, we don't know. And they are getting information that he's going to be live again on Pan-African Daily TV. I want to make it clear. We are not going to be live, but he's gonna, if everything works out from technique and everything, he would be hosting his program live on us. And we're also looking for peers out there, all the Pan-African that are doing something, and they say they want to reach out and connect to their brothers and sisters in the diaspora on the continent, and they want to be on the Pan-African Daily. It is possible that you stream your program, your project, your event, your anything, whether it's a radio program or whatever. We have access, full access to that connectivity right now. So reach out to us and we would be back with you. We're just doing it for the love of our people. So we see us tomorrow, same time. Good night. Bye-bye.
You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want. Unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherland's calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.